You've been doing this a long time. When you were coming up, what were your goals like early on? Was fame on your mind?
I wasn't craving a radio hit. I wasn't craving, popularity. That's never been the goal. And I think people see that as a goal, is having that lifestyle of the rich and famous, that don't you want your name in lights? Don't you want to be on the red carpets? And I'm like, I just want to play music. That's all I want is to make music and for people to love the music and respect the art that I create because it comes from my spirit. It comes from my own soul. It comes from my own personal thing. So that was never the goal, It's always been to make something great and to be named among legends and to be named amongst people that I've grown up looking up to.
Every H.E.R fan knows that you're a Cali girl through and through, Vallejo to be exact. What was your upbringing like?
I grew up in a Filipino and Black household. My mom, she came to America when she was 17 or 18, and my grandparents lived with us majority of the time, and my dad, he was in a cover band, so growing up, him and his friends on the weekend, they would do gigs and they would rehearse in our living room. I grew up in a musical household, and we used to just jam and have gatherings, and that was like the vibe in my house.
What came first for you, singing or playing instruments?
When I started talking, I was singing. Like,
Wow.
I have a old tape, me singing London Bridge is Falling Down, and like being like 3 years old. And my aunts are like hyping me up in the background. They're like, hey, and I'm just singing London Bridge. And like, I kept the same key the whole time. So I think they knew I could sing then.
Nah, it sounds like you were born with a mic in your hand. But when you started listening to music and cultivating your sound, who were some of your earliest influences?
There's so many influences. I mean, Alicia Keys was definitely number one. She was playing piano and singing, and I rarely saw that. So she was like number one for me. Anytime Alicia had braids, I had braids. Anytime she wore a hat, I wore a hat. Like I really loved Alicia Keys and looked up to her. She influenced me to even be just more confident.
You can tell you knew what your passion was very early on. But at what point did you decide that you were gonna pursue music full time?
I was a young kid performing and then going back to school and not really realizing like this was going to be my path. I just knew it was something that I loved. It was something that came natural to me. So, when I got a little bit older in high school, I was known as, that's the girl who sings and she plays instruments. And when I graduated, it was like, okay, am I gonna do this 100% or am I gonna go to college? When you are faced with those major decisions, that really determines, I think, where you're meant to be. When I dropped Volume 1, that was 2016. It was a year after I graduated high school. The reaction alone kind of made me feel like I made the right decision. And I don't know if it was ever apparent to me. I even still think today, accolades and all, I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Am I exactly where I'm supposed to be? And all of these beautiful things that have happened have been that confirmation. And not validation, but confirmation.
With the folks around you clearly seeing how talented you are, did you ever feel pressured to pursue a career in music?
I've been so blessed to have the people around me, my parents included, but everybody, expecting the world of me, like saying I'm gonna be great and saying that I'm meant for amazing things. I've always been like kind of like a bossy kid, kind of just marching to the beat of my own drum, and I've always been open to learning, but also very sure of myself. And even if I was frustrated and confused or unsure of what my future was gonna look like, I never lost sight of who I am, and who I really was at the core. From being a young kid to now, and I feel like that's just part of life. You're tested, to see if you're gonna just do you, and be you.
In 2016, we get H.E.R Volumes 1 and 2, which is the first time we're introduced to H.E.R or having everything revealed.
Yes.
What did having everything revealed mean to you at that time?
I decided to release this project that represented this very vulnerable time in my life, being a teenager. I released Volume 1 and I wanted it to just be my silhouette, no name, no face, nothing, just because it was just such honest music, and there weren't that many people that had seen me before that, but for those that did, it was a way to kind of get away from the person that I was at 14. It was like this is me now. This is the evolution of me, the evolution of woman. And so I was having everything revealed in the music. I decided, like, I want people to focus on the music. And that's why I wanted to be her.
And with the I Used to Know Her projects, how did that music help to evolve your sound and develop you as an artist?
These weren't albums, and that's the thing. It's like crazy, and people ask me like, what's the difference, you know? And for me, Volume 1 was a piece of who I was, right? You hear the high school influences, and I was listening to Party Next Door, and I was listening to Drake, and I was listening to Jhené Aiko, and even Jill Scott. And then when I started performing live, when I started doing live shows in 2017, I opened up for Bryson Tiller, and I pulled out the electric guitar, and that was the first time people had seen me really play instruments on stage besides, you know, being a little kid or whatever. It was like, oh, okay, so there's another layer that's being uncovered. And lyrically, it was an evolution of who I was becoming and the things that I started to go through as a young woman.
Fast forward to 2020 and you release I Can't Breathe. What was going through your mind at that time?
The George Floyd protests happened, and just seeing all these things, I didn't know how to feel or what to do, and wrote I Can't Breathe. When it happens to you and people that look like you, people that look like your loved ones, how could you not have care? And I've always championed being a Black and Filipino woman, being a Black and Asian woman, because that's just part of my DNA. How could I not? I always write from the heart, and it was what I was feeling in that moment, but also, you know, what I was seeing. I think about artists like Marvin Gaye, Nina Simone, and how they were literally the soundtrack to that time, you know, that time in America, that time in history. So I feel like as an artist, I have a responsibility to sing what I feel, but also what I see. And that's kind of how the song came about. Some of the questions in the song is like, how do we cope when we don't love each other? What is a gun to a man that surrenders? Praying for change because the pain makes you tender. It's like, there's all of these things that I personally felt. And I think that's what I'm about, is telling my own truth, speaking my own truth, singing my truth.
Now, while 2020 was painful and challenging, your year this year started off with a bang. 2 more Grammys on your shelf, as well as an Oscar. What was it like winning an Oscar?
I don't know if I can describe that feeling. It was like so chill, and you know, we go in, and I'm a little bit intimidated. I'd never been to the Oscars before, and I'm like, wow, I'm here. When they call my name, I stopped for a second. Everything just kind of stopped, and I was like, wait, what? Did I just win an Oscar? Like that was my initial reaction. Like, wait, what? And I see my mom, and she's crying, she's proud, she's jumping up, everybody's going crazy. You know, me and H.E.R, we look at each other, we're like, wow, we did it. I'll never be able to have that feeling again, and I can't describe it because it was such a moment that I couldn't have prepared for.
And after having those major successes, you're back with the new album, Back of My Mind. What inspired the title for the project, and what does that mean to you?
I wanted to name it Back of My Mind because oftentimes, you know, people say, you're speaking my life, you know, you're articulating things I wouldn't have been able to, you know, articulate myself. I couldn't put that feeling into words like you did. And I realized I say the things that sit in the back of my mind. My album is everything up until this point. It's Volume 1, it's I Used to Know Her, it's my musicality and, you know, me wanting to have fun, have a good time in life and making records that just are in the moment, but also the records that I really sat and thought hard about and felt. And musically, it's all of these things. And I think that's really what this album is. It's not just another project. It's a piece of everything.
We get the album's lead single, Damage, your first record to go #1 on urban radio without a feature. How did you process that moment?
Oh man, it meant the world to me, you know? The support that I got from that record and people asking me like, what'd you put in that record? Like, I love that song, you know? It was just really dope. It was straight vibe. Like, if you got it, it ain't a question. Like, it just came out like that, you know? And we both started singing all these melodies and putting the pieces together. And I just thought about like, what is that feeling? A damage. You could do damage, like, and it just happened.
If you got it, it ain't a question. Oh, it ain't no room for guessing. No more than emotionally invested. Showing you all my imperfections. Oh.
It's kind of a vulnerable thing. It's like when you get in a situation with somebody, or you feel like you're getting to that point with somebody, like, oh man, it's kind of getting real. You don't want to give your all, you don't want to give your heart to somebody if you feel like they're gonna just destroy it, you know? And of course, if you've been hurt before, it's even harder to give somebody the love that they may need or that you want to give, because you don't want anybody to take you for granted. You don't want anybody to just think that it's, you know, it's easy. And you gotta let people know, like, listen, I don't do this, so if I let you, don't take me for granted.
Be careful what you take for granted, yeah. 'Cause with me, no, you could do damage. You could do.
The music video shows her in her element with your band. Tell me what it was like shooting with them.
Oh, it was fun. It was dope. Like, we really wanted this raw feeling. I work with Child, the director. She's amazing. And I've known her since I was, I want to say 15 years old. So we kind of kept it all in the family. The vision that she had and that I had, it really came together and made this beautiful, vulnerable, but still like this edgy kind of thing. And bringing the band was like the perfect thing.
Having achieved so many milestones so young, are you ever overwhelmed with how much you've accomplished up to this point?
It doesn't get overwhelming. I get really proud and happy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that, wow. And I'm like, wait, this doesn't happen, you know? This is not something that happens all the time, so I can't help but just be grateful. I'm grateful every single day, and it's just part of who I am to want to conquer so much. I know I have higher heights to reach. I know I have more to work for, you know? Sometimes I feel like this is the point at which people get comfortable and say, you know, I won the Grammy, or, oh, I have success, I got the #1, I'm good. And it's like, that's not how I see this. I mean, if I get overwhelmed, you know, I'll be a little tired sometimes, because I like to work really hard, you know, and I may overwhelm myself with how much I take on, but I would go crazy if I had to sit still, so.
You're an artist who continues to push the boundaries of what an R&B artist is expected to be. How do you hope to see the genre continue to evolve?
With R&B, I feel like we're realizing that it is the foundation of music, you know, that it's rhythm and blues. And I'm just seeing so many people take it and flip the sounds, you know, and be experimental and change it, exactly. You know, challenge it. Yeah. You know, people like Timbaland did, people like Babyface, Pharrell even. I'm seeing a new generation of people that are continuing to flip it and bring it back too, and pay homage to the old school R&B. I'm just excited to see the new artists and the new generation of producers and songwriters that gonna continue to keep it alive and make it dope.
When it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
There's so many things that I didn't imagine that I would even do. I had a vision board in 2016, and I accomplished more than half of the things on there, and or everything on there, really. And now I'm trying to make a new vision board, and I'm in the middle of creating it right now, so I can't tell you, you know, what that looks like and what people are going to say about me, that I made some good music. We'll see. I'm still discovering all my purposes, so ask me again in 10 years.